A few years ago, a video went viral on Facebook, and it was of a man called Tom Walker. And he was playing a character called Jonathan Pye, and he was a news reporter, and he was outside Westminster ranting and raving, and suddenly he's off camera, and he thinks he's off camera, and he's ranting and raving against the politicians, and it was huge, and people loved it. And they loved it not because they were left-wing like Tom Walker, they loved it because it was an anti-politician message. And that's a very, very easy thing to agree on, whatever side you're on. And this Tom Walker guy has become more and more famous as time went by, and really what people appreciated him most for recently was his defense of Count Dankula, the one with the adorable Nazi pug. This is what he did outside the court after Count Dankula was sent to court. Just watch this video.
He was convicted because the judge believed he was inciting racial hatred. It's pug dog. He was mocking Nazis. I'll tell you where else in history you'd be convicted of a crime for teaching your dog to mock Nazis. Nazi Germany. You'd have had the Gestapo kicking your door in.
See, I loved that. And I'm so glad to see it coming from the left. I mean, it happened with Ricky Gervais, David Baddiel, other people stood up for Count Dankula as well. And so what we saw here is some people on the left actually standing up and saying, hang on a minute, regardless of political opinion here, some people might not be the monsters that they're being made out to be. Count Dankula being one of them, actually. I mean, if he's political now, I know that he definitely wasn't political before, but I'm sure he probably is more political now after what happened to him. So Jonathan Pye's taken up this mantle of free speech, and I saw a video on Facebook that I wanted to just show you today. And it's a video from Channel 4 News where he's talking about freedom of speech. And he's right about some things, which I'll tell you in a minute. But he's wrong about the fundamental principle that he mentions here. So just have a quick watch of this.
Freedom of speech is an immovable right for horrible people as well as nice people. If you're a horrible person, if you're a racist, for example, I want to hear it. You know, as long as you're not inciting hatred, as long as you're not inciting violence, if your opinion is that the colour of your skin makes you superior to me because of the colour of my skin, you should be able to say it, because then I can argue against you. If it's illegal for you to say it, it bubbles up. So that's just the general.
See, I think he's right about that. I think he's absolutely right that curtailing freedom of speech allows horrible ideas to bubble up. I know a lot of young lads from years ago when in my first foray into politics. Young, angry, white lads who've just been forgotten about. And I tried to bring them round to a more moderate position. I really tried, and it failed. And some of these lads now that I knew are anti-Semites, neo-Nazi types, some are even in prison. And they're extremists. They're real. If you want to talk about the far right in Britain, these guys are the far right. And I don't think that had to happen. I don't think these people are born with hatred in their hearts. They're taught to hate. And it's because of laws that curtail their freedom of speech. It's because that young white men are told from an early age that they are everything that's wrong in the world. The left are creating the extremists that they fear. And what the left don't realize is that we fear them as well. We don't want people to go down these extremist radical routes, but they do. And so Jonathan Pye, or should I say Tom Walker, is right about this. But it's the next bit that I'm really interested in.
Humour and offence are so subjective. They're so similar. I remember going to see Frankie Boyle, and he's an acquired taste. I think he's wonderful. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a brilliant writer. I remember going to see him at the Hammersmith Apollo, and I was sat there, and I thought it was a wonderful show, and there were 2 or 3 points over that night where I went, oh, Frankie, do you know what?
Too much.
Do you know what? And all around me, people were laughing. And then 5 minutes later, so I was offended. 5 minutes later, I'm laughing, and the guy next to me is going, oh, no. It says it all. And I just think it amazes me that the left aren't really scared that the right seem to have claimed freedom of speech as their thing. The idea that Katie Hopkins and Tommy Robinson are the only people that are shouting about freedom of speech doesn't prove that freedom of speech is a right-wing idea.
See, that's where he's wrong. First off, I actually reject his idea of what right-wing means. The 2 people he mentioned there, Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins, they're worlds apart on many issues. You know, the idea that it's just the right that's talking about freedom of speech now is nonsense. But his suggestion that the right have just decided we'll have that and we're going to take freedom of speech as an issue, it suggests two things. It suggests, one, that we just saw a gap in the market and decided to take it. And secondly, it suggests that the left have just forgotten about freedom of speech. But that's not the case. He's about to say now the left are running scared.
And the left are running scared. The left are scared to say that they are pro-freedom of speech because they don't want to be branded right-wing.
The left are running scared of talking about freedom of speech because they don't want to be branded right-wing. That's just wrong. With respect, it's wrong. The left know perfectly well that they are opposing freedom of speech. They are actively opposing it. That's the whole point of hate speech laws. They're not scared of being pro-free speech. They're just not pro-free speech because they want to curtail what we say. And the reason the left want to curtail what we say is because the world is changing. We've got Trump, we've got multiple populist leaders throughout Europe. We're leaving the European Union. Things are changing, and suddenly the right isn't the radical, crazy group that it was maybe 10 years ago. We're not the crazy ones, and the left have noticed this, and that's why they're really ramping up these freedom of speech laws now, is because they don't want us to do any better. He says the left are running scared. I'll tell you who's running scared. That's the normal people of this country who see people being locked up for jokes. They are terrified. So no, the right hasn't just decided we're going to take that. But Jonathan Pye, Tom Walker, if you think the left should be talking about freedom of speech and promoting it, then more power to you. Brilliant. And I hope they do. And I know the only reason the left will ever support freedom of speech, if they ever do, is because they think that we're crazy enough to be seen through. But I mean, we of course know that's not the case. So all the more power to Jonathan Pye and all these people talking about freedom of speech. But to suggest that we've just taken it as a right-wing idea, that's wrong. If you like that and want to see more, remember to like and subscribe and download the new Rebel app from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store.